we've seen labor export being happening in this country. And that's why I say, sorry, allow me to divert and come back to the current state. And not only labor export, it being an issue of us taking the best brains to other countries to go work, but it has narrowed down to also where we've seen someone who, during the week, it was said that the level of education was not probably a higher level of education, but she was sent and she went to a different country and she was caught at an airport in Vietnam. Part of the things or cases we see in labor exports. One of them also in other countries we've seen people are taken as, how do you call them, house helps and are treated badly. But this week we saw one where she traveled and then something was placed in her purse. She said she didn't know what it was. And we saw the Vietnam government taking her in, and her name was Duta, and we've seen how they wanted to hang her. Coming back, there have been an uproar in the country also concerning the issue on that, and some of the citizens say probably that person knew what she was doing, and it was rightful that whatever case that she was handled, it was to be handled that way. Others are saying, as a country, we should allow or go fight for her and bring her back or have diplomatic relations. It is only in the church and the state where we have a chance to balance government policies against biblical standards. And this raises the question, is this an issue where you would feel it is right, of course, if anyone was found with such substances, they say they were drugs in a different country, are allowed to be taken and hanged? Or is it an issue where who raises the stone first, or is it an issue where bring the person back in the country she was in, bearing in mind they say she was only a class 8 dropout and she didn't know? What could be your thought on the current issue happening? And that aside, we also see the level of labor export in this country has really increased. We see the CS of labor, Dr. Alfred Mutua, still sending people outside. We see thousands.
243,000 annually.
We've been seeing them actually. This is for the first time I see a lot of people. It's even publicized. They do some PR stunts on it and they show us on the airport and they say these guys are going. What is your issue first on the labor export that you're facing in this country, and then narrowing it down to the issue that has happened this week on a lady known as Duta?
Unfortunately, where Kenya is standing, and it's not just a Kenyan problem, I think it's an African problem per se, we don't know what to do with manpower. And by the way, the highest form of power, apart from God, the highest form of power is God. The second highest form of power is man.
Not KPLC.
It's not KPL.
Is it the political people power?
It's just the human nature. It's the human part of power, what you call man power. It is the power that is generated by men. For example, let's assume you want to push a car and you're alone. You will notice that there is a power you need, but as you keep adding men, you keep saving power, because now the amount of power you need to push that car, as men are coming in, you begin to see the power of manpower. And so many people, especially on African continents, they have so much power, but they don't know how to use it. And this is where slave trade came in. Slave trade came in back in the days is because they knew that the highest form of power on this earth, separate from God, is manpower. And if the one that can have many people has a lot of power, so they can either do a lot of farming, they can do a lot of, think about whatever it is that there is. So when you export the manpower, the question you should ask yourself, are you exporting because you don't know what to do with that power? Or you're exporting because power is in excess? So the question I want to point out to you, I know I shouldn't be asking you, which among the two? Is Kenya exporting manpower because it doesn't know what to do with manpower, or it's exporting manpower because we are in excess?
I love what Faith is saying from YouTube. The truth is, it's like we don't know what to do with the manpower we have. Really sad state of the affairs. I know it's sad. Back to you.
The Kenyans are saying, you pose the question to us, and then we ask them, and they are saying, so that we don't judge with.
Believe me, China, if you remove half of China, you remove half of its capability.
If you remove half of its China, like the citizens of China,
you remove half of its capability. There is, and I'm not claiming, of course you have nations like Qatar, where you have, I mean, a limited number of citizens, but still doing great things. But my emphasis is basically on, if you have manpower, you have a very high form of power globally. It gives you the advantage. Like India would negotiate with several nations because of the manpower. China would negotiate with several nations because of the manpower. I mean, the military unit of China, just go study it. It's in millions. So you would not really want to come against such a nation. Globally, I mean, when we come back home to Africa, just speaking about Africa as a whole, you have nations like Nigeria. Nigeria has over 200 million people, I hope you know.
Yes.
Over 200 million people. But what's the difference between Nigeria and US? They probably have almost the same numbers. US has almost same population.
Yes.
What's the problem? The problem is we don't know what to do with manpower. And so, coming back to your question, I am afraid that our export of manpower means better to foreign nations rather than we as Kenya. I mean, if we could have retained those doctors, would we have better healthcare systems? If we could have retained those engineers, would we have better mechanical systems? If we would have retained those students, would we have better educational systems? So we should focus on containing our people so that we can contain their knowing at home and build home, rather than being happy of exporting people. Like, look at, I mean, try and Google how many Kenyan nurses are working abroad, and some of the most excellent nurses, where they are coming from. They are coming from Kenya. Yet you have a medical system within Kenya. I saw which county they are striking now. The medical field are striking. There is a county where now the medical, there are no even doctors on ground. So is it because of a failed system that we are exporting our people, or is it because we have exhausted opportunities and so we are exporting what we don't need? I'm afraid we are exporting what we need because we simply don't know what to do with it. And other nations know what to do with it, and that's why they are welcoming us, because they know the power of manpower.
Or, sir, or then is it a question of we are not compensating the manpower equally enough or able enough, such that the manpower feels, myself as a doctor, I'd rather be where I'll be compensated equally or better, and shift and go offer my services at a different place? Is it that the country then does not have capacity to compensate these people? Because even, it's funny how in other countries, the richest are probably businessmen. You are a CEO of a few and founder of few companies. In one way or the other, the richest people are people in business in other countries. But in our country, the richest people are not people in business or the people who studied, or doctors or engineers. They are politicians. Now, is it a case of the country cannot compensate these people well enough, and these people are saying, I'd rather go and offer my services where I feel well compensated?
Have you checked what I call the Mbadi report? Mbadi was on TV.
Yes,
yes. Did you see how much money Kenya is spending on salaries?
Yes, recurrent expenditures.
Yes.
Did you see how much it is?
Yes.
How does a nation, by the way, in my view, I would push for only 14 counties.
Buddy had a statement like that and said he would rather reduce also the counties because we have counties
It's
that
unnecessary.
have governors and deputy governors who don't know what to do.
It's unnecessary.
And CSS.
It's unnecessary. Because if you can imagine a nation spending $1 trillion probably, or over like approximately 900 billion on salaries.
Yes.
And I hope you know there are ghost workers on that salary. The biggest percentage is on ghost workers. Why would you have so many workers? Do you know what $1 trillion can do if it is put back into the economy?
So,
you have an idea? So what does that mean? Even if you are going out because the compensation is superior, it still comes back to the context. We don't know what to do with manpower. We have so many graduates and we don't know what to do with them. We have so many young guys as IT gurus. We don't know what to do with them. Do you know Dubai has a minister of AI?
Yeah.
Like a ministry that deals with AI. You understand? A ministry, what does that tell you? They believe in young people. If you bring anything to do with that in Kenya, I mean, the Kenyan government doesn't even believe in young people. How do I know? How do you put a former governor to run the Ministry of IT? Are you telling me you have exhausted campuses, no one competent? You have exhausted young people that have graduated, no one competent. There is no space for our people because we don't know what to do with the young people. We don't know what to do with the educated people. So we only know what to do with people when it's election period. And this time around, by the way, I want to say this to all leaders. I've seen a lot of unnecessary conversations. Bear with me. Unnecessary conversations. This coming election will not be election as usual.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be election as usual. Young people are going to give you a run. A run. A run for your kind of politics.
Yes.
Because people have realized that we are so... Do you know, I've happened to travel so many African nations. When a Kenyan speaks English, there is no nation in Africa that has a better English speaking citizen than Kenya. If a South African will speak English, there is something.
Yeah.
If a Nigerian will speak English, there is something. If a Rwandese will speak English, when it comes to Kenya, the way we communicate, our capacity to communicate is so high. This is why so many people don't know how to do it. If a Kenyan businessman communicates business, it will be so high that we will not know what to do with the business. So what will you do? Other nations that want such kind of communications, they will absorb our people. Not necessarily because we have exhausted home, but home does not know
What to do with us.
Yeah.
So then the doctor will leave for greener pastures. Why not make it green at home? So that the doctor doesn't see a need of leaving. And if a nation can be able to, I mean, if we can lose 2-3 billion a day, if that money is channeled back to economy, do we need to export any doctor?
No.
Won't we build referral Kenyatas in every county?
Well.
Won't we? Do you know what 2 billion can build? 2 billion Kenya shillings. But the people, and that's why I've said, even if it's compensation, people will still walk away and you can't blame them. So you see our young daughters going to Lebanon.
Yes.
And if you have seen, some of them are being beaten by their bosses, which is something that it's absurd. So me as a leader, assuming I'm a leader in the nation, I would not be saying, yeah, it's you that went there. I would be feeling sad and I'll be looking for opportunities to create home jobs whereby you will now go to Lebanon by choice, not by force. But right now, people are being exported by force because we don't know what to do with them. Now, look at the case of the lady there's a case of a lady who was about to be hanged.
Yeah.
Nduta, right?
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
I heard you asking that question. Vietnam has no problem hanging her. No. That is the law of their land. If there is a diplomatic way where Kenya can come on board, then Kenya can come on board. But people should not blame Vietnam. For example, the law of Vietnam is not the law of Kenya. Jesus says, whose face is on the coin? So give to Caesar. So there is what belongs to Caesar. And one of the things that belongs to the Caesar is power, law. He holds the law in his hands. So if the law of Vietnam says, if anyone is found with this, and they are taken through the justification process, underline that. There has to be a system through which they are taken through the process to justify whether what they have, it was either put on their bag illegally or they came with it from Kenya. Because if I was the minister in charge of that, I would scrutinize the airport. I want to know on that day when she was traveling, where did she pass? Who checked her bag? What is the record? Because you know when you are traveling, I've traveled a little bit. When you pass your bag through those sensors, it literally shows what you have in your bag. If she came with that thing from Kenya, how did she pass? So this is not a game, because that means we are claiming that we have an incompetent airport. And that's very dangerous for Kenya, because Kenyan airport is one of the best airports in Africa, at least, even though it rains.
The leaking roof.
The leaking roof.
airport.
Yeah, Kenya. If you go to, believe me, if you travel in African nations, you say thank you to Kenya. Kenya has everything. The only thing Kenya lacks is only one thing: management. Kenya lacks nothing. Talk of minerals, talk of governance, talk of ideas, talk of youth, talk of power, talk of whatever you want to talk of, it's in this nation. So the question you should ask yourself, it makes it very incompetent. And it shows how we have an incompetent structure, security structure in our airport, assuming that is, she came with whatever she came with from this place. So if I was the minister in charge, I would personally follow that case, because I am saving the image of the nation. So I would want to know who was on duty on that day. Where did she pass? Which flight did she take? Where exactly was she arrested? Was she arrested immediately she landed? It means they knew. So someone set them up.
Yeah.
Because you have to have checked her for you to know. So when you look at all those factors, Vietnam has no problem with what they brought out as they want to hang her. That is their law, and you have to respect their law. But according to the Kenyan system, in my diplomatic view, Kenya should come on board diplomatically and try to settle this issue. First of all, to say, even if Vietnam is going to go ahead and do that, please do it because it is true. But don't do it because she is found. Let the matter be taken to court. Let the matter be vetted. Let there be a bench that has the knowledge of, And by the way, it's very easy to find the truth. It's very easy to know where she came from with those issues, assuming they are. But let there be a legal way of trying her, not just taking her directly to kill her. That cannot be the solution. So Kenya should come on board not only to save her, but to fire all those that are putting our nation at jeopardy, to prove that we have an incompetent airport. Do you know what that means to drug cartels? You are telling us that if a lady like that can pass with no money, what about a billionaire? What about drug barons in this nation? It means that it has been happening.
And also coming in.
It means other people are coming in. So this is a matter of national importance, and the government should make sure that matter is followed, not to castigate a nation because in their law they say you should hang a person. That's their law, and we should respect their law. And by the way, I need to tell this to people that travel. Please be careful. Please be very careful. Things happen in airports. I've seen a lot of things in the airport. As I've traveled, trust me, I've seen a lot of things on airports. But I can equally tell you, it's very easy to know whether she was involved or she was not involved. If these two nations collaborate and work together, we can actually bring out the bigger cartel. Me, I would be after the bigger cartel. Those who allow such things to pass beyond her. Because she's just like, she's just a carrier of something. She's going to die.
She's a pawn in the game of chess.
Yes, she's going to die for the bigger number. So if it was me, I would be after the bigger number. Assuming true she had, who was she taking it to? I would follow that more than I follow her. So you don't need to just kill her, because again, you are showing as if you are trying to cover something. Because by killing her, assuming that's the situation, or maybe she's in it, you have killed someone that could have told you how the system works. But again, if it's not true, you'd have killed an innocent person. Try the person and settle for the big fish. Use her to get to the big fish, if it's true. And if it's not true, free her and let her continue to serve and provide for her family.
So what you are saying is the issue is bigger than this individual called
No, the issue is bigger.
So it has exposed some of the leakages that are in the government, from the travel agencies to the
And she could be a sacrificial lamb.
Exactly. Do you know how many passes you have to pass at the airport? The first one is the main one where we all say goodbye to people.
Yes.
It's down there. You remove your shoe, whatever. then you climb up, then you go to the second one. That second one is very, very hard. Very, very hard. So to pass two
Checkups.
checkpoints, I don't think it's that's
It's not a
it's not a
like a
coincidence.
mistake, yeah.
Assuming that is it. So for me, I settle for two things. Either it's not true, she didn't come from this place with it, or if it's true,
Yeah. There's
someone
addicted,
somewhere
yeah.
has been doing bigger business,
Yeah.
and we should use her to get to the bigger person, not to castigate her to die for the bigger person.